Welcome to Semper Sometimes with Benny. So, today I have, before I even start the episode, I gotta, throw this out there for my Phoenician brothers. So, the Marine rapper had this on his Instagram page the other day, and he was like, yo, everybody gotta start wearing flannel. So I did it. I went and bought a flannel. I have flannel, but I just did it because, you know what, he said to do it, so I did it. So I'm wearing this for you, the Marine rapper. But most importantly, I have Johnny Roth with us, a Marine Corps brother, a friend of mine that I've known for, I think, my whole 12 years of being in the Marine Corps. Met you right when you got home from Iraq, and I was leaving for Afghanistan. And then by the time we got back, you got out, and then we kind of just since then been bullshitting between Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. So the reason he's going to go into the whole story and everything, but the reason why I wanted to have him on is because he is a staple in the community in which we live in, and what he's doing with his nonprofit organization and his partners. The things that you guys are doing is phenomenal. So I wanted you to be able to come out here and talk about that because I'm sure there's a lot of nonprofits in New Jersey, but nobody really knows about them. No one knows what they're there for. No one knows anything about them. And people are always saying, oh, well, no one cares about our veterans. And it's like, well, no, they're out there, but maybe you're not doing, looking for it. So we'll definitely get into that. We're going to learn more about his history, his background, who he is as a person, what he does in the civilian world now, and then we'll go from there. So without further ado, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on here. I know we've been playing phone tag for a while, so it's I'm like, I hit you up, and I'm like, yep, we can do it today. I'm like, perfect. That was all. Like, it was just last minute where instead of planning, but I really do appreciate having me on here. I know those guys that you've been on here before that we've served with, and it's kind of cool that you're bringing everything together like this.
Yeah, awesome. I'm trying to, man. So let's just start off with you. Why did you you grew up here in New Jersey?
Yep.
Why did you end up joining the Marine Corps? How did that whole thing happen?
Yeah, I grew up in Forked River. It's in Lacey Township, small section out in Bamber Lake, so it's in the Pine Barrens. And grew up out there. It was awesome. I was a free kid, don't come back until it's dark out. And we just built forts, played paintball, fished, caught snakes and stuff like that. When I look back at it, I had an awesome childhood. And as much as sometimes we're boring, where I wasn't with, we call it kids in town, because there's a good 10 miles in between where we grew up, our neighborhood, and the rest of Lacey Township, like the high schools and everything else was. But there's times that I thought were boring, but I look back and I'm like, man, I appreciate those times, just spending hours in the woods with my buddies, riding our bikes, trying to find the Jersey Devil, stuff like that. Like, that was awesome. And it built a lot of character and a lot of cool things that I carried the rest of my life that I didn't realize up until probably the last few years. So, I did that. Wrestled my whole life since I was 5 years old. Soccer, and then played football up until high school. That's when I started football, but I wrestled all through high school. And I guess I had always that competitive edge and a little bit of aggressiveness, but as a kid, I was more shy and just timid, I think. Just laid back, but very respectful to my parents. That's how I was raised, to everybody else as well. But I was also an asshole kid, though. I was also the kid that would try to test the limits as much as I can. I still do that to this day. But right after high school, I got into law enforcement, working Seaside Heights as a Class 1. Okay. That's an officer without a weapon, for those people that are not in New Jersey or familiar. Yeah. But you're just wearing a vest, you got a baton, you got a ticket book, cuffs, and you're supposed to patrol the streets with another officer that has a weapon. So looking back at that, that's kind of crazy. I only did that for $5.15. That was minimum wage back then. I say back then, but that was 2006, summer of. So the day after I graduated high school, I was doing a traffic post and working the boardwalk in Seaside Heights. So,
how was that experience? Because then you also became a cop there eventually.
Well,
right?
I went to the
academy. How was the experience of that? I feel like there's a lot of stupid shenanigans.
There's a lot, and a lot of learning, a lot of character building as well. Coming from Lacey Township, right out in the Pine Barrens, I was never told to go to Seaside Heights. Like, when I got my license, they're like, all right, don't go to Seaside Heights. That's where all the crazy shit happens and whatnot. And they're right. I mean, we'd venture off there, but we'd feel like, all right, we got to get back now. But yeah, working there was a whole different animal, and I saw the world differently working as an 18-year-old kid in Seaside Heights. You know, it just opened my eyes to a lot of things, and got to meet some awesome people throughout my career there. So I did 6 years there.
Mm-hmm.
So 2006, that winter, went to the academy. I'm 18 years old. The youngest one in the academy, I think there's another 18-year-old actually, but we both were just young to the world. And again, getting thrashed every morning, having to drive yourself from home. And it wasn't like you stayed there. Yeah. So we had to get your ass up like 4:30 in the morning, make sure your stuff's ironed. Like, this is pre-military. So, like, iron your stuff, shine your shoes and stuff, and just putting in the work and kind of trying to get that respect from the older guys that looked at you as a kid, which you are, but hey, I could still hang with you. I could still conversate with these guys and stuff like that. So that was a struggle in itself, still trying to be that 18-year-old kid. Yeah. But also, like, with my friends and stuff sometimes, but also being that 18-year-old kid with adults that have some life experience, and that made me grow up a lot. But what an awesome experience, because that actually, like, segued right into boot camp. Because so I graduated in May of 2007. I worked my first year as a class 2, which is not a full-time officer. I have the full powers as an officer. You just don't get to carry your weapon home, and there's certain other small tidbits, like you're not into the pension system and stuff. But now I'm working as an officer, 18 years old, ready to go, and I did the summer, and then they're like, all right, your hours are cut, just like everybody else. I expected that. Yeah. But I was putting resumes out and talking to people, and they're like, yeah, you don't have life experience. I'm like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to get life experience, dude? And I'm like, I just did this, and what I'm told. Yeah. So I thought it was a bright idea. I've always wanted to join the military. I'm like, you know what, this is my opportunity. Yeah. And so when I graduated the police academy, we were the last class for part-time guys to get your full certificate, which is a big deal, at least back then. And I was young, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do something to better my resume. I decided to join the reserves. Like, I didn't want to go active duty because I had that full cert, so I wanted to come back home, and this just segued right into it. This was perfect, all right? Yeah. Talked to a recruiter, and I was like, I want to leave next month. He's like, what date? I'm like, I pointed the date, the 22nd. That was my birthday. So I knew if I left on my birthday, there's no there's nothing. I'm just going to leave. Did the MEPS thing. They expedited all that stuff. And
so did you walk in the office?
Yeah.
Like, you just walked in and you were like, hey, I'm here to roll.
Did
so
that, ready? Took the test. Like, I think I took the test a while ago. You give the chips and, I don't know. Whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to be. Leadership. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It's good used car salesman. That's what you guys are. Right? I swear to God, that's what I say. But did his job. Told me that I was going to be a motor team mechanic, which I'm cool. Like, I didn't want to be an MP. I'm like, that's what I do in the civilian world. Let me learn a trait. Then I found out later on that I was a motor T operator. So, different. But I don't know if that was confusion with me or the recruiter. I'll blame him. But shipped to boot camp, Paris Island, on my birthday, October 22nd.
Was there a specific reason why you chose the Marine Corps, or was it just the military and it was the Marine Corps? Like, was there a background on that, or was it just like, I'm going to go into the Marine Corps office because it's the first one I saw?
No. So I have family members, uncles that all served in the Marine Corps. I have one uncle that was in the Air Force. And my one cousin that I look up to, my cousin Bobby, he was a Marine as well. And it was just something about them in my family where the uncles that had served and the uncles that didn't, or cousins that didn't, just really stuck out to me. Going down to 8th and I as a kid probably, and seeing the silent drill team every summer for a couple summers. I mean, saluting them as a kid, seeing the Bulldog, really. Like,
so it was ingrained in you, instilled in you, like, this is going to...
I knew I wanted to do it, so, like, if I was going to any service, it would be the Marine Corps. Yeah. I remember telling my mom, even during the academy, like, I'm going to be a Marine. Like, I just didn't know when. And when they told me I couldn't find a full-time job and I didn't want to go back to school, I was like, this is perfect time. So,
perfect segue.
Yeah, just, I guess, tradition. And I loved everything about it. Like, it was the tightness, the brotherhood. that wrestling and then the police academy, like things that were just like tight knit and close group. And obviously the dress blues, that was a plus. But yeah, everything like that, and I love it, and I probably wouldn't change my mind, and wouldn't, if I had to do it over again, I would do the same thing.
Yeah. So how did you? So you knew you wanted, and that was the biggest thing for me. Like when I was on recruiting duty, I would tell people that, like, listen, if you're gonna do the reserve program, there has to be a reason for you to do the reserve program.
Yeah.
Like, don't do the reserve program and then come back to New Jersey to do nothing.
To be a shitbag.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you get signed up is to get away.
Yeah. So why would you come back? Unless you have something going on, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, firefighter, or whatever you're doing. You have an ultimate goal, and the Marine Corps is just going to help carry that out. Other people, it's like, you know, hey, I'm going to come back here. Okay, but why? Like, to do the same thing you left here for? Isn't that why you're here in this office? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, move away, grow.
Yeah, grow, prosper.
Get some character. Yeah, prosper. Yeah, learn skills and people skills and life lessons and learn them.
Yeah.
And then come back if you want.
Exactly.
If you choose.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what I say to younger guys that say, oh, I'm going to do just the reserves or just the guard. I'm like, well, why? Why are you leaving? Because you want to leave your small town or you want to get out of that group of kids. Like, well, leave them.
Yeah.
Like, fuck them.
Yeah.
Go do something. They're still going to be doing the same thing. And the guys that I've seen in the reserves, that's all they did, reserves, and they didn't have anything come back. I don't know how many times you run into it. They run the same problems. And it's the same. Yeah. Hey, they're good. Then they're back in their element again. Yeah.
And it's, you got a quick fix, and you came right back to it, or, you know, or it's just you didn't have a plan. Yeah. And then, you know, you blame your recruiter and you're like, my recruiter told me this. No, okay. Does that happen? Yes. But, you know, because it was funny because when I was my past drill weekend, I saw a bunch of people that I put in the Marine Corps. So one of the staff sergeants that I was working with was like, bro, you probably lied to these motherfuckers. Like, you probably lied to these dudes. And one of the dudes that I put in the Marine Corps, he's 28 years old. His name is Barden. I look over and he's standing outside of medical. I was like, hey, Barden, get over here. He comes, he's like, yes, Staff Sergeant? He comes walking over, and I'm like, what did I tell you? And he looks at me and he goes, you told me not to join the effing reserves. And I was like, so why are you here? He goes, because I wanted to join the reserves. I was like, so I told you not to, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, so I didn't lie to you, right? And he's like, no. And I was like, and what else did I tell you? He was like, you told me not to come to 6Com in Brooklyn. I was like, where are you right now? And he was like, yeah. So my boy was like, oh, okay, so you're not like that. Because it's the reality of it. Like, if you, and that's what I would tell people, baby. Bro, I'm not going to tell you which way to go. Yeah. But if you ultimately decide that's your best option, then, hey, man, that's your best option. But you better remember that I told you not to.
But you're giving them the reasons why, and you're feeding them
and that's
the truth.
And that's the thing, is like the reserve program is a phenomenal program for people who it works for. If your plan is to come back to New Jersey or wherever you're from to just do it, it's just like, bro, come on now, you know. So going back to you, so you go to boot camp. What was your because you said you would do it all over again. What was your experience in the Marine Corps? Did you love it? Did you enjoy being a reservist? Like, was it what were your thoughts on that? Like, how was boot camp? How was your deployment?
Boot camp was awesome. I was ready because I had already 6.5 months of just getting my ass kicked, running. Like, I was in good shape, still young, and I was like, all right, I'm ready for this. Or I'm not ready for, like, I knew the physical, I was ready for the physical demanding, but the mental part, I was not sure how I was going to be because that was my first time away from home. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, I actually did the buddy program. So that's a funny story, too, yeah. So my buddy, I made him sign up with me. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm leaving. I did, yeah. I'm like, it was a Monday Night Football, and we're just drinking some beers. I'm like, yo, you're coming with me. He's like, all right. So he came down the recruiter with me. Kind of really sold him. I was like, you're not doing anything with yourself, right? He's like, no. I'm like, let's go with me.
Bro, this recruiter had to have been like, yo, thank God, bro. He was like, yo, today's the day. Oh. Like, yo, he got a twofer. His boss is like, yo.
How many guys like that do you, like, see? Have you ever seen, like, guys come in, like, and a month and a half later, I know now it's tougher, but...
So it happens. The problem with that is that, so you're, number one, you're called office traffic. And the thing is that there's an option for that in the system, in office traffic. But they tell you to never put that. Like, never put someone walked in, bro, because that shows you're not doing your job. And it's like, okay. But People do, but the 9 times out of 10, especially in today's world, I don't know. If I was in the 2006, 2007 era, I think it would have been different for me.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's world, when someone walks in, the first question off your mind is, "What's wrong with you?" That's the first question. I'm going to.
What are you trying to escape?
I'm gonna pull up a background investigation on you. I'm gonna pull up everything I can. I'm gonna look up your social media, everything. I'm gonna be like, okay, what is wrong with you? Because 9 times out of 10, especially depending on your age too. It's like, bro, why are you walking in my office at 28? What did you do?
Yeah.
What did you knock up? You know, and like, why did you? Or I just ask them, like, hey man, what took you so long to get to here? What's happened in the past 9 years that you weren't here? You know, mom, dad, and that's the thing. Like, does it happen? It happens. Like I remember one time. I'm gonna actually come out and tell this story for the real truth this time.
Yes.
So this dude hit me up. And I'm sitting in my office. It's 8 a.m. It's Saturday, and my phone rings. And no one knew this until this moment right now as I tell this. I had the office phone hooked up to my cell phone. So if the office phone rang, it called to my personal phone.
Boom.
And then I answered all the office traffic. So this dude Nicholas George calls me. And this dude, when I tell you this dude literally is the spitting image of John Cena. Like the spitting image of John Cena.
Oh,
like
shit.
if John Cena needed a double in a movie, this is him. And he calls me. He's like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant." He's like, "Yeah, I want to join the Marine Corps. I want to come in the office." He's like, but he he tells me straight out. He's like, "But I do have a background." Like straight out, he was honest. He's like, "I got a DUI." I was like, "Bro, a DUI? Bro, come on, we got this. We'll take care of it easy." So my boss had just came out of his office, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna call you right back." So I hang up, I call him right back. I'm like, "Hey, is this Nicholas?" And he's like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Hey, Nicholas George." I was like, "This is Staff Sergeant Bennett with the Sergeant Bennett." I was like, "This is Sergeant Bennett with the Marines, man. I'll just call him to see if you've ever been interested." And he's like, "Wait, what the?" He's like, But he plays along with it. He can immediately tell. And I was like, "Yo, Gunny, I got a same day coming in. Kids bringing papers. He's joining." And my Gunny's like, "Yo, what?" And I'm like, I played it off like I just did this. So he comes walking in, and he shows up like a half. Now the funny thing too is that he was in Toms River standing outside the Toms River office, but no one was working. It was a Saturday. They just decided.
What office were you out of?
I was in Monmouth.
Okay.
So I was in in Freehold. So he was at Toms River, but nobody was there. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm standing outside their office and no one's here." And he's like, "I'm calling all their phone numbers and none of them are answering." So I was like, "Bro, I'm over here in Freehold. You can come right now." So I tell my Gunny, "Hey, I just got a same day kid's coming in." Boom. So I sit down with the kid, young man. He was like, I think like 20, 22, maybe 24. I don't remember. Now he's a sniper, a scout sniper in infantry, and killing it in the Marine Corps.
No shit.
And but yeah, he walked in and he straight out told me, that he had always wanted to be a Marine. And you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, "Bro, come on. Then why did you wait so long?" But then you actually start finding out more and more. And what had simply happened, without getting too crazy into this, he wanted to join the Marine Corps since he was like 12. Like since he was a young man, like he wore camis, like he hunted and he did all this Marine Corps stuff, and like he always wanted to be a Marine. And people say that, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna validate this. But he ends up telling me that he goes to high school. He's in the ROTC program, or no, he went to high school in Jackson, and he's telling his parents he wants to join the Marine Corps. His mom and dad go, "No. The only way you're joining the Marine Corps is if you go to college and you become an officer. That's the only way we will allow you to join the Marine Corps."
Most parents want to say that.
Most parents say that. And he's a very respectable kid. He's a very, he just does what mom and dad says. And he's like, okay. So he goes to, I forget the name of it, Norwich in Vermont.
Okay. Yeah.
Very prestigious college. Goes out there and he ends up getting a DUI for and it was dude, it was like a 0.3% alcohol level, but Vermont was just being scumbags about it. But the way that the Marine Corps is that whether or not you go to court and you get found not guilty, the Marine Corps sees that you did get arrested, for a DUI. So no matter what, you got a DUI. Whether or not you were found not guilty, you had alcohol in your system while you were driving a vehicle, you got a DUI. That's the Marine Corps. So you still have to do the process, you still have to get him a waiver, you still have to get all the paperwork, you got to do all that. But the funny thing is that somebody had told his mother that if you got a DUI, you couldn't join the Marine Corps. So the Army was telling people that if you got DUI, you couldn't join the Marine Corps. So here I am dealing with mom. And the funny thing is mom talking about those people.
Yeah.
Mom is like, if I remember correctly, there was 2 people who had the exact same story, and they were both named Nicholas. And then they also both ended up joining the Marine Corps at the same time, and they both knew each other, bro. That's crazy.
What?
Yeah. So I get the kid in the office. I do the whole waiver. Kid gets approved to go on deck. Goes on deck. Gets like a 99 on the ASVAB, perfect score.
Oh shit.
And now he has a bachelor's degree. He has a 99 on the ASVAB. He's doing like 30 some odd pull-ups. And the officers, when you have someone who has a bachelor's degree, they have to talk to him.
Okay.
So I call him, and you're not allowed to coach people. So you're not allowed to say, hey, listen, man, you're going to say this to him. Because if he joins the officer program, I'm going to lose him. So I tell him, listen, man, you do you. You talk to him how you want to talk to him. Bro, when I tell you this captain got so fucking pissed off and then thought that I told him to say this shit. And I was like, yo, Gunny, you were right there. Nicholas George gets on the phone with the captain. The captain's like, hey, what's going on, man? I see your test scores. I see everything you're doing. He's like, I think you'd make a fine, officer. And he goes, no, I'm good, sir. And he's like, I'm sorry? And he goes, sir, I just spent 4 years with you guys at Norwich, and I don't want to be anything like you. He goes, I want to go enlisted, and then maybe I'll become a Mustang. But no, I want to actually earn becoming a Marine officer. And I was like, and then in the background, he goes, put Sergeant Bennett on the phone right now. And I'm just like, I was like,
Sergeant Bennett written
all
over.
I was like, sir, I did not tell him to say that. So I walk in the back. I was like, what's going on, sir? And he's like, did you coach him into saying? I was like, sir, no. That's how he walked in. Like that was his mentality, and no lie. And I was being real with it. I was like, no, sir, I would never say that. And so the captain's like, he's gonna fall on his face. He's gonna fail in boot camp. I was like, okay, sir. So I was like, I hung up. Long story short, mom still was she was supportive of it because she saw that she felt that him going to Norwich and failing and getting a DUI was her fault in some way, and then it became like this whole thing. I was like, well, no, your son got a DUI, like whatever. But long story short, mom was still not about him becoming a Marine.
Yeah.
So he goes to boot camp. I get a call that he's the honor grad. So when you get an honor grad, you get to fly out to South Carolina. They pay for your hotel, they pay for your car, and then you spend the next 3 days there.
Nice.
And then you go to dinner with the general. You go to dinner with the general,
shit.
and you do this whole entire thing. You meet the general. He gives you a coin. He gives you a speech. He says thank you. Blah blah blah. So I get the call, and again, the call goes to the office, but it's my phone. And I'm like, yes, this is Sergeant Bennett. And he's like, oh, this is General so-and-so. We're calling to invite you out to, Paris Island because, you have an honor grad. And I'm like, oh, awesome. So I fly out there, I get out there, and I end up doing the moto run. And he looks over at me, and he's like, Sergeant Bennett? And he's like, what's up, man? He was like, wait a minute. What? This is graduation day. I'm doing a moto run, and you're here? I'm like, what the? But, yeah, so that ended up happening. And the funny thing, too, though, with the other kid, Nick, I thought somebody was playing a prank on me. So this other kid, Nick, his mother calls me. And it was the day of, I'll never forget, it was the day of my son's baby shower. And I'm standing outside my house. I'm like, yeah, hello? And she's like, yeah, my son really wants to join the Marine Corps, and I think I really screwed him over, and I think I effed him up, and I think it's my fault that this is all going on, and I'm being told he can't join the Marine Corps because of the DUI. And I'm like, oh, is your son named Nick? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's already joining. We already got paperwork. She's like, no, my son Nick is not joining. She's like, he doesn't even talk to a recruiter. I'm like, ma'am, I just sat down and did paperwork all day yesterday. And then she's like, with Nicholas Patterson? I'm like, oh, wait, no, who the hell is that? And literally, dude, same exact story.
Really?
Went to the same college. Literally went to Norwich. They were friends in Norwich. They graduated high school together. They
just drank together.
It was, well, they did. But what happened with Nick, with the other Nick, was, and his was even more effed up, bro. Like, F New Jersey cops, bro. So he came home. He just decided to get out, whatever. He comes back to Jersey, and he was out in the Pine Barrens on an ATV. And he had a beer in the ATV. And he was just out, like, I think, like, either hunting or just doing some shit.
Yeah.
And someone's ATV broke down. Someone that he didn't know broke down and got stuck. So he's like, all right, I'll walk up to my house, get my Jeep, and then pull it out. So he gets to his car. He goes to get into his car, and he has he has alcohol in his system because he just had a beer, and all of a sudden a park ranger comes pulling up on his property, and they arrest him for a DUI, and he's like, so this whole thing went about whatever. But yeah, he ended up joining the Marine Corps too. But yeah, dude, that whole shit. But yeah, so to answer your question with a long-winded story.
Yeah, that was a great story.
No, yeah. So people do walk in, but it's like and there are people like both of those Knicks left within a week. Like as soon as and that would be my thing though.
Yeah.
It's like if you walked into my office saying you want to be a Marine and you're a graduate, you're going to boot camp like tomorrow. Like I'm not letting you sit here for a month or 2 months. Like no, you're leaving immediately.
Good.
Because there's a reason why you've procrastinated for this long, and I'm not going to let somebody allow you to do it again. So, but yeah. So back to you. So you were in Iraq. Right?
Yeah.
How was that?
I mean, I thought it was going to be more exciting. I thought, the build up, pre-deployment, all that stuff was interesting out in CAX and stuff. And I to say I was a good Marine would be completely wrong. I made a lot of mistakes as a young Marine, and which made me become a better leader in the Marine Corps later on in my career. I'd fuck up simple stupid shit. Jennings, right?
Yeah.
We'd be we got told we were the motards of our platoon, and which we would just yell yut and rah every time, and we just volunteer for everything. It was to the point where all right, you guys need to calm the fuck down. But we were ready to do everything and anything just about. So out in CAX, I forget what the fuck I was doing, but I went to go clean my rifle in those sea huts out in Camp Wilson.
Yeah, yeah.
And I look at it and go, oh fuck, my Pac 15's not there. I'm like, whoa. And you know what? I did the right thing. I went right to my sergeant. I'm like, hey, Sergeant Petrov, my Pac 15's not there.
You know what's funny? Petrov is the guy that checked me into the unit when I got there.
No shit.
Yeah, I remember that. That's the only time I met him. I remember his name.
Yeah, he was on his way out when you were coming in.
Yeah, I think the drill that I got there was the drill he left because he checked me in.
No shit.
Yeah, I think so.
See, it's a small world.
Yeah.
And I was like, he may have been corporal. No, I think he was sergeant. But I was like, Sergeant Petrov, my fucking Pac 15's not there. He's like, what the fuck do you mean it's not there? I go, it's not there. I went to go clean my rifle, and the first time I looked at it, it wasn't there. And he's like, what was the last time you seen it? I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was always on me. I don't know. I probably just fell off. So he goes and tells everybody, and they're like, all right. I remember our staff sergeant just bugging it out. Staff Sergeant Mo and Sergeant Zadi. Staff Sergeant Zadi. They both, he was more chill, but Mo got everyone ready, and dude, to this day, I still kind of feel bad that we got the whole fucking platoon, the police call Camp Wilson. It was going on for a couple hours, and I'm sweating. They're telling me about NJP, and I'm like, fuck, I didn't even leave U.S. soil. I'm like, this is an honest mistake. It fell off. It's got to be somewhere on this fucking base.
Yeah.
Someone has it in their shit, I guess.
Yeah.
But long story short, I guess the armor at the time came out. It's yeah, I had it. It fell off. Somebody turned it in at the I think the Warrior Hall.
What?
And it's gave it to him, and he ran the serial number. He said he was going to give it to me. He's like, I was going to give it to you, with no nothing, but I thought you were going to come to me. I was like, oh,
why would I have
come I know, I would have
wait, what?
Been thought that was the last person I go to, because he was actually I forget his name though, but he was a dick, and I'm like, and I'm E3? I'm like, fuck, no, this guy's gonna chew me out. I don't know what he's gonna do. I'd rather stay in house and keep it there. But I mean, our platoon, they probably haven't forgot. Police called majority of Camp Wilson, and it was fucking hot out. It was July, because that was our pre-deployment. It was July 1 to the end of July.
Yeah.
Jesus, fuck, that was hot. And so from there, went to and I was on every working party. Shockingly, no paperwork done, and I still thank Gunny Mo for that. To this day, he became a gunny. But fucking went to Iraq. Oh, so let me go back. We talk about legal stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'll let it be known on this. right before we got activated. It was Cinco de Mayo. I was out there at New Brunswick Rutgers drinking. Got into a fight, and then had some court issue stuff, and got that taken care of. But I did get arrested technically, but it was just for fighting, so it wasn't like a criminal charge or anything. Yeah. But I was almost late to our first pre-drill, getting your gas mask, issued stuff, shit. And I had to tell Gunny Mo that I got in some trouble, and he's like, "That's all I need to know." He goes, "Don't tell me anything further," and he was cool with it. That's how I was like, "All right, that's it." So I took care of it in court. It got pled down to something stupid, paid a fine, and I was on my deployment, so I'm like, "Fuck, that's embarrassing." to me. But happy that I got to go on this deployment, because I've known too many stories later on, guys fucking up right for deployment, never get a chance. So I'm grateful I got that opportunity. Iraq was just it was quiet. Nothing really was going on at that time. We were retrograding just about all of Al Anbar and providing security for KBR, which was kind of cool because a few of us became gunners. We go into the gunners course of pre-deployment, which was fucking cool. Better than sitting around French Creek while they're doing admin stuff. And to me, you got a different perspective of the countryside. When you're going on convoys, night convoys, and day convoys, I loved it. I loved everything about being a gunner. We all embraced it. We all had our own little clique. Yeah. And our responsibility was just that. We'd help out the driver and A driver and stuff like that. But hey, I got my gun to load and make sure you had your shit. And then, but I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Got to see some cool FOBs. We visit often to just either refuel them or anything they really needed, but we really just provided security for KBR. Got to go to Ramadi and Blue Diamond. There's some spots that now I'm happy I went to because history was happened right in those cities or whatever happened. And I look back, TQ, we closed that down, and that was sad for guys that had deployed prior to that. They had lost somebody, and they took his memorial back. It was cool. It was cool for them to kind of see that, but it was also sad that this was one of the busiest bases when they were deployed in 2004 and shit, and it was kind of they needed to come back anyway. They wanted it. So seeing those older guys meant a lot to them, and it was kind of cool to see that. So I was sitting at Blue Diamond. They left us they needed a truck there. Blue Diamond's a small little army base outside of Ramadi, and they left my truck there because it had the fuel, and I was the gunner, so I had to stay with my weapon, and then the driver and A driver stayed while our platoon went back and did convoys for another couple days. During that time, got to hang out with the Iraqi Special Forces, Iraqi Army guys. It was cool to eat with them, smoke hookah with them, dance with them. I know there's a couple videos that Kanopka had and took of us. It was cool to actually experience them and actually talk with people that were serving in the U.S. All I heard was if I knew George Bush, which was George Bush. So I'll go tell George Bush they think we're buddies or whatever. Yeah. But it's cool to see actually that, because you hear stuff on the news. At that time, all you heard was news. You watch the news, and you're hearing a lot of negative things, but you're not actually listening to anyone on the ground. At that time, I was young, and I'm wow, these people actually do give a fuck. And they're actually grateful. They are grateful. I'm wow. Yeah. So that was cool. We exchanged some things. I got a hat and something, and I took some marble from the palace that was disgusting and destroyed. But I got to keep something with me and snuck that past customs. But that was a cool experience in itself. And so while sitting there, like I said before, volunteering all the time. That's what I tell a lot of younger guys that come in the military. I go, volunteer for fucking everything. Yeah. Because this is a cool thing. I volunteered so much and did a lot of dumb shit. I was punished, but I just took it on the chin. They're hey, the word is they're looking for volunteers to go to Afghanistan. And they're only taking 50 from the battalion. And we're holding off before we ask anyone if you want to go. I was like, fuck yeah. I look at Cintron. He was my roommate at the time. Oh shit. We both, I'm easy question. I'm I had no kids and no wife, no girlfriend. He had his little girl and his wife, but he's fuck it. We're doing this together. Yeah. So we were roommates from pre-deployment all the way through. And
oh shit,
dude, that all right. We finally got the word. Like there was scuttlebutt before, like, hey, you guys are going to Afghanistan, and then it fell through. Shocker, but this one was like serious. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. Cool. So this is like December, and then by the end of December, we went right to Iraq. But it was cool because
you mean in Afghanistan?
Afghanistan, yeah. I'm sorry. So, like, we went to the airport, waited, hurry up and wait, and then went to Kuwait to right into Afghanistan. It was pretty cool. Like, it was fucking, oh, this has happened, man. And I remember the whole plane was fucking, like, sleeping. Like, it was a C-5, I think. It was huge. And they're all sleeping and shit. And then I see, like, one of the co-pilots, whoever they were, like, we need a volunteer to come up and to get, like, eyes on as we land. I was wide awake because I'm like, fuck yeah, we're going to Afghanistan. You're hearing, like, I remember working out at the gym and hearing Obama's speech about the push.
Yeah.
And we're already in Iraq. I'm like, oh shit. Like, this is going to be serious. So I'm like, all right. And gave me the headset and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, just look for IDF and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, cool. Meanwhile, I'm just like, what the fuck? This is Afghanistan, man. And did that. So that was a terrible experience. Like, it was a neat experience, but how catered we were in Iraq to Afghanistan. We landed in Kandahar, and that's where we stayed. We worked for a Marine Corps general was the one who really requested more support before the push, like to get things set up. He had said he has no Marines working under him under NATO control. To this day, I couldn't tell you what unit it was. It was just NATO. Like, you fell under NATO.
Yeah.
All right. And they split us all up to different jobs. Luckily, I got to stay with the guys I knew. I mean, he was starting new, but I think he was Corporal New at the time, maybe. It was New, Cintron, Cessna Expo, and there was just a lot of guys. Like, it was a good crew of us, and they put us in like a 100-man tent. There's like 300 of us, and because we were with other Marines like from other places, and it was just fucking so tight. Like, the fucking roof of the tent came off of the huge tent. All our shit got soaked. It was like, then they finally moved us to like a nice, like, these NATO dorms. Brand new. They were brand new, like, supposedly rocket proof. I'm like, whatever, dude. Dude, they had showers in there. It looked like dorms. Like, I was spoiled to be in there, but that was after a couple weeks of being in this shithole of tent.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool because now we extended our deployment and we're all like, yeah, fuck it, dude. Like, we're living like kings right in there. We worked with all countries, man. That was an awesome experience. The Aussies, the British, Bulgarians, Canadians, the Finnish. That was my one lieutenant. She was a Finnish lieutenant. We worked flight line security. We did a lot of cool stuff there, and just being outspoken, not giving a fuck. I was like, what we did was like all the flight line stuff, perimeter, and everything like that, security. Anytime we got IDF, we'd go get dispatched to a rocket site and kind of coordinate and kick people out of there and shit. That was fun. And then I started seeing guys, like, it was pretty cold. I thought Afghanistan was going to be warm, but it was the winter time.
Yeah.
We weren't prepared for that. So, like, getting us stuff was like an issue because we just came from Iraq and we weren't ready for the cold weather. We had holes in our boots and shit. And I see these guys inside, the same people that we work with. Their blouses off, they got coffee, they're just chilling. I'm like, what do you guys do inside that, like, in dispatch that we can't do? Like, oh, this is really high tech stuff, and a lot of experience. It takes a lot of experience to do what we do. I'm like, how fucking hard can it be? Like, you guys are dispatching people. I think I got to the point where I was like, dude, I could do this. And this is all Air Force guys. This is their gig, man. This is what I was like, I could do that. I'm like, this is what I do in the civilian world. I'm like, I can talk on the radio. It's not hard. Like, tell me, give me a shot. So they gave me a shot. Bro, I was running that. Like, I felt like it was so comfortable. Like, you get on the mic, you're speaking to everybody. We're getting rocket attack daily. It was a daily thing. So the incoming, whatever, the radar, the rocket, that picked it up. And it would leave, like, this blinking thing on the map. You had to find the coordinates. You had to say the coordinates and then send the guys out there. Like, you had to do that within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. So it came naturally. Just boom, boom, boom. Just tell me what I have to do, and I'll do it. And so that became like a rotation spot. What we did over there with NATO was a 3-on, 1-off. Work 3 days, 1 day off. So instead of being out in the cold all the time and shit, like in a Humvee or whatever, I was inside and got to bullshit and actually got to know some more other people that worked in the Air Force and stuff like that. But that time was awesome because working with the Aussies, became good friends with them. Like we're still friends on Facebook.
Oh shit, that's so.
Yeah,
that's
we
awesome.
probably connected the most was the Marines and Aussies because they just felt like when we came there, because they were there for a while before us, they weren't connecting with the Air Force, they weren't connecting with the Canadians, and they just had something about them that we kind of, when we bullshitted together, like we just fucking like kicked it off. So that was just a cool experience seeing how other people live, and like making fun of like the Aussies, and they made fun of us and shit like that, and it was just cool. But yeah, man, that was interesting. Just dealing with that stuff for a couple months, and came home a couple months later, and that's when you were checking in. Yeah.
So how did so now at this point, are you a police officer before you left? Like, did you actually become a full?
No,
or that was afterwards?
No, that's another like journey too and stuff. So I came back, went back to Seaside Heights. I did that for the next, that's 2010. So another 2 more years, so 6 total. But I did it. I came back and started working Seaside year round now, which was fun. I was doing the Jersey Shore years and Snooki. My roommate's the one who locked up Snooki. I like to say that. Joey. That was cool. Just dealing with all that shit. And 2012, I got hired by the Ocean County Sheriff's Office, and then I had to go back to the academy again. At that time, I really didn't care. You call me a piece of shit. Tell me I'm worthless. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna pay me now, a lot more money, and yeah, I'm ready for it. Like, I've earned my keep. I think up until this point, I've been to Class 1, Class 2, been to boot camp. Like, I'm ready to do this now. So now I have a life experience, I guess. So did that. I worked in the courthouse for a couple of years, for about 2 years, and then I got a great opportunity to go work for the narcotics unit of the county, the SOG, Special Operations Group. It's they do all the narcotic stuff, and I worked in the southern part of the county, which was pretty cool to experience, and did that for about 2 years. At the end of that, I knew I was going back to the courthouse. I was like, fuck, I don't want to go back to the courthouse. It's boring. It's fun with the guys, but it's something I didn't want to do the rest of my career, knowing mentally like this is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
Because it's limited. It's either that or there's another warrants group. So I go back and put my resume out, and luckily I got an opportunity to transfer in civil service. I went to Jackson Police Department. So, and I've been there ever since. I'm not going anywhere else, but I'm grateful that I got that opportunity to work there.
So how would you say the Marine Corps helped you transition into becoming a police officer? Did it help you at all? Did you kind of already have all that? Like, did the boot camp, did the camaraderie, did the deployments, did they help you with becoming a better officer, the training or anything like that? Or
I would say more or less the being more humble, the humility part, breaking you down, and knowing that you can't do things alone, and you're not in this by yourself. It's that fire team aspect that I'll get into later on. But yeah, it's that small group. Like, hey man, like we have to do this together. It's a group. Like, this is a unit. Like, we're tight. Like, and sometimes that's a negative thing now to this point, because I don't see people like, I want to say the non-military, but there's guys that like I don't understand why they don't understand the small group and the unit and what the importance of that is. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying because we're like a group that we're stronger and no, like we can accomplish more good things together, and it could be positive, it could be within the job, it could be in civilian life, but no, there's a lot of cool things that I actually really had to overcome mentally that I think the Marine Corps did a good job at instilling in me. I don't know, being squared away sometimes, like to a point, you know, like you get that all the time, like, oh, you're a Marine, how come you're not that squared away? Like, I'm squared away, like I'm not doing what you're doing or whatever, but like being physically fit, like to me that's number one importance, and I struggle with that, of grasping, like I don't understand why if you're an officer you're not there's no
Yeah.
standard right now, right? In civil service,
Yeah.
there's no standard, and I get that frustration from
That's
the
weird.
civilian world, right?
I
It's
think
like,
that's such a weird thing.
dude, that's my
Like,
I don't know
'cause
how I
was
can get over
talking
this.
I was talking to a buddy of mine, Ergules. He's a Marine as well, and he's SWAT team in Bergen County. And dude's a boxer, CrossFit, runs. Like, he does the freaking David Goggins 48 by
Jeez.
48. Like,
Yeah.
he's like literally freaking dude's out of his bird. But he's always doing something. Like 3:30 in the morning, he's on Instagram Live. Like, yeah, I'm getting it. It's like, okay, bro, relax. But you know, me and him, I had him on an episode, and we were talking about the same thing. I was just like, you know, what helps you, you know, be in the right mindset? He's like, bro, I do dry drills all the time. He's like, I am constantly doing something that has to do with my cognitive ability. He's like, I'm always working on training, and I'm like, but why isn't everybody like that?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't understand how there isn't, like, when I see overweight officers, or when I see officers, I'm like, why is that even allowed? Like, how is there not a height and weight standard to be, and then why is it, or why hasn't it happened to where this is a thing? Like,
I don't.
Is there like just no rhyme or reason?
No, in civil service towns, which are like your state, basically like a state employee, like but through the township, you're a township employee, or government, I should say. That's the correct way. The unions, I guess, they protect the guys. It's for the officers. So like, hey, you know what? Don't do this because you might lose your job. We're afraid of this. And there's other towns that have chiefs towns. They can have standards. You know, like there's probably 3 towns in our county, in Ocean County, that are chiefs towns that have like these. They're strict and they have leverage with that. Mm-hmm. But not even just being squared away, it's also like good with your mental health. It's good to decision making when you're in shape and you're working out, and that confidence of you holding yourself when you go to these calls. And you know what, these people that you work for, we work for residents, we work for the town and the township. They expect something when they call you. Like, it could be physically, like they want you there for a reason. They're not calling you here because something good's happened, right? And no, I'm not saying every call is going to be a bad call or every call is going to be a shootout or a chase, but you don't know when that's going to be, or you don't know when you're going to be fighting for your life. And I get it. You could be overweight and you could probably throw down and you can be there, but I don't know. Is it consistent? Are you going to be consistent? Is it good for your health when you haven't done anything and then you just redline? Like, you might have a stroke. Like, I'm not saying that as like in a bad way, but if you don't work out or you don't train in some aspect, and it's time to actually do something, I don't know. I don't like those odds, and it just doesn't look good. But that's the one thing I do struggle with. But I'm not a physical specimen in itself either. Like, I'll do what I have to do, and I can run the 1.5 miles, 3 miles. I can do my pull-ups, push-ups, and stuff like that. But that's one thing I kind of have to scale back mentally about others and stuff like that. But yeah, the Marine Corps has done, and the military in itself has just ingrained a lot of goodness in it. And hopefully a lot of us veterans that are in my department now and other departments kind of share that, connect with each other. And
is there a lot more veterans than there is not?
No. They're starting to come, but you're not going to see any more because the lists that come, you're seeing less and less veterans. Either one, they're eligible because of background checks. They don't want the job. And there's few veterans coming out now to be in law enforcement. So.
Oh, really?
That's what I've seen in the last couple years. Yeah. It's getting less and less and less. And the guys that are doing backgrounds are like, we're not even seeing any vets. So something weird about that. But I think we've seen the guys that come through the process, get deployed, come back home, get out of their contract, and either they found employment or they're just done deployments. You know, like as the years gone, there was less and less rotations. So that's where we're at now.
So what brought about how did the whole nonprofit begin, and also what is the name of it? And
so I was getting out of I didn't want to get out at that time, but it was just something, a lot was going on in my life, and I was like, you know what, I'm being a bad leader right now. I'm not as physically fit as I wanted to be. I'm not there mentally for these guys. I was like, yeah, man, this is not good. To me, it's like, it's going to be a toxic leadership. I wasn't doing anything bad, but I saw myself going down this path, and I said, you know what, I'm going to take a step back. So I did drop to the IRR after I re-enlisted 2-3 years prior. And I was just like, you know what? I'll drop to hour until the next reenlistment if that's the case. I'll make a decision to come back. And I talked to a couple guys I looked up to in my unit at the time, and they said, "Yeah, you have to do what was best for you."
Yeah.
No deployments are coming up, so I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is what I want to do. And 2018, I was getting out, and I still wanted that camaraderie and I wanted that brotherhood. I started getting more involved with the Veterans Diversion Program that we have in the state. I don't know if you heard about that, but
No.
there's mentorship that every county is supposed to have for any veteran that gets in trouble through the law. And they get charges. Well, now there's a mentor program, like almost like a veterans court for them. So it takes them, wipes their charges away if they do the protocols, if they're all the urines and go to all their psychs and everything's good. They go up to date for like about 2-3 years, depending on how the program is set up for them. But I was involved in that, so I started diving into mental health stuff with law enforcement, and I'm like, man, all these people like Ocean County, they say, yeah, we had this unit set up for veterans, we had this program set up for veterans, but either it dropped or failed, or they have no one to do it, and that's all different nonprofits that are in the mental health world. And I looked over at my buddy, I'm like, dude, we had the players, why don't we just fucking get something going? Like, they keep saying Ocean County has the most veterans in the state out of all the counties. I think that has to do with the Joint Base and also with just the retirements and just in general, Ocean County. We have about 50,000 veterans right now, and
Oh shit.
there's nothing set up except the brick VA, and that in itself has a stigma. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just they're overworked, and they can't cater to everybody and have that focus. So, especially for the younger guys, my thing was, hey, let's get this going, and we'll come up with a name. And the names we came up with, Recalibrate. I got that from a Jocko Willink. One of his videos is like, reload, recalibrate, re-engage. I was like, fucking recalibrate. Like, that's like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It means a lot of different things. One of the things that pissed me off the most was from my deployment, like coming back, was the disgruntled veteran. That whole like, oh, poor me, I'm broken, there's nothing I could do. The only thing I got is the bottle or whatever. I'm like, no, that's like the wrong, like to me, even at that time, was like, I don't want that image. I never wanted that image. I don't want the poor me, like, victimhood.
Yeah.
So Recalibrate, it's like, dude, yeah, you could fuck up, you can go down a wrong path, but all you have to do is change a couple things, like, and get back on the path. And that could be working out, that could be your diet, that could be, hey, you know what, I need to find my space and I need to start journaling, I need to go on hikes, meditate, yoga, surf, get back, just recalibrate, man. Like, you're not a bad person. You're not disgruntled. That's not the case. What it is you need to get back in touch with you and then be a productive person that we need to be, veterans, back into society, and which I think society looks at us for a lot of things. So spearheading the mental health best that we can, be open about it, the best that we can if you're not in law enforcement, because that's still a struggle. But leading the front and everything, just like, hey man, we're with this, we have issues. Not saying everyone has issues that you're in the military, because that's another stigma to that.
Yeah.
You're in the military, you're a veteran, you have these issues.
You know what's one thing that I've never understood, and I think to me it's just weird. So you have all these things that where you talk about veterans, right? But why do you never hear about mental health when it comes to police officers?
Well, that's
Because like
no, that's pretty
I
easy.
would assume y'all deal with like some shit every day.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every day, like you,
Yeah.
because and again, mind you, we're both veterans. And that was the thing that I talked to people, like when I was on recruiting duty, I'd be like, you know, when people were like, oh no, I'm not going to join the Marine Corps, I'm not going to go to Afghanistan and die. I'm like, but you want to be a cop? Bro, you're going to put a gun around your waist every single day. And like, to me, it's like, I feel like that's got to be, not, I don't want to say more like nerve-wracking, but it's got to be like, I feel like mentally it's a lot more tasking, because every day you have a weapon on you.
Yeah.
There is something that can happen. But I feel like we don't hear enough as a community about the police officer mental health.
Yeah,
Or,
we don't.
Like, what are we doing for police officers? Like, what are we doing for first responders? Like, what are we doing for, you know, NYPD, FDNY? Like, what are we doing for you guys? Like, not just the Marine Corps, the military veterans, but what about the people who never served but serve every day?
Yeah, that's an issue, right? There are starting to be small strides that we see in law enforcement. I'm now a resiliency police officer that they have throughout the state. Every department has it now. And what that is so if you're struggling and you need to talk with somebody, there's a designated guy in your place, and if you aren't comfortable with him, he can set you up with somebody else, another department, or somewhere out of the area. But at that point, when that guy comes to you, you're not like liable to say anything to anybody else, unless he's like about to harm himself. Then you have to be a police officer. But like his struggles, his issues, whatever. That's between you and him, and you are supposed to help him the best you can to guide him to get more help, to talk to people, set him up with certain groups that we have within our county. And that's a good step, but guys are afraid to come out fully, and if they are struggling, stressed, or just they're topped out, right? Like their cup is full, and it's tough because when you start asking for help, and it's been like that for years in law enforcement, the first thing they do is they put you on the rubber gun squad, right? They take your gun away and think you're a liability. That, just like in the military was, right? Hey, if I say this, then I'm not allowed to go on this deployment or this mission or do this, or I'm not promotions, like any classes that are open up. And that's the same thing in law enforcement, and that's your career, right? That's your salary. You might have a family. Who knows what road that goes down too? All right, now you make me go see this doctor. All right, I'm gonna go to this doctor. I'm gonna explain things to him. Doctor, some part might say, "Hey, you're not fit to work." No, but there goes your career, and there goes your pension. There goes everything that you've worked so hard for, and because you are a human being and you react to things, and just like a normal person would, because we are humans. And it affects us differently, but we all are affected. And you know what? That's a reality, and guys are afraid to come out because of the fact that it's their career. Some guys are too stoic for help, which I'm trying to break that as well. But that's a problem, man. That's a problem that we're trying to combat now, and let guys let their stress out and let them express themselves certain ways, like journaling, like getting them involved in certain things that are maybe not the most police or stoic or like militarist. Like, what do you think? No, dude, surf, yoga, do some stuff that do some art, poetry, whatever it is. Like, get your mind going off and vent it out that way in a healthy manner, not in a toxic way where we used to say go to the bottle. Or that was the culture of anything, right? The military, well, at least the definitely Marine Corps, but the bottle, it's like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna just drink.
Or that's all. Work all day and then go drink and then get up to go back to work tomorrow. But and that's the thing, without getting into the whole COVID situation, but that's why me right now I'm confused because in New York they're talking about, oh well, you know what, we'll just give people overtime. Bro, they're already working overtime. You're already overworked, and the solution is, well, we're just gonna give them more overtime. No, it's already, and mental health is gonna go skyrocketing, and now it's just the whole inside, and that's why the whole thing is insane. But it's good to see that they are creating programs. So what is your program? What does Recalibrate offer the community?
So our mission statement. We connect disconnected veterans and first responders through physical fitness, such as yoga, surfing, and we have our monthly peer groups as well, and so other physical activities. So we have our monthly peer groups that we just meet. Right now we're meeting since the COVID shit. We lost space at the Mental Health Association. They were nice enough to give us that spot for a couple of years up until COVID. Then we went virtual, which is good because we connected with guys throughout the country. And then, but we lost a lot of guys that were local, and we knew that having a spot was important. So we are now at the VFW in downtown Toms River, and we have a peer group. I would call it a bullshit session. Sometimes we'll have a topic, sometimes we're not. We check in, depending on who's there. We can gauge that, like who's gonna lead the discussion. Usually we have that already planned out, but it's good for guys to just come and connect and vet, especially keep it there so guys that can relate. The unfortunate part is guys complain that we don't have, you don't understand me, man, or, well, we have a place that guys do understand, and it's not at the VA. There's no stigma. We're all different backgrounds, different services, which is good because a lot of the younger guys learn from the older guys, and I'm not saying super old, but we have older guys there too, but if a younger guy is talking about his problems, sometimes an older guy has already been through them, and they can say what worked for them, and it's kind of a cool relationship where you're seeing older and younger vets kind of connect and share that bond. It's pretty cool.
That's
and then our workouts, which you attended the one workout.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you since. I'm gonna call you out. But
bro, that shit was fucking disgusting.
That
bro.
was a good one.
Like I remember.
That was a buddy workout, right?
Yeah.
We partnered up.
It was me, you, and the other guy. And I remember I got in the car afterwards, and I was dead. And I called my captain, Captain Walker. Shout out to you, because she is a avid CrossFitter, and she has been known to give people rhabdo.
Oh shit.
And I called her, and I'm in the car, and I'm just drinking my water. And I'm like, ma'am. She's like, what's up, Bennett? I was like, ma'am. I think I got rhabdo. And she's like, what happened? What are you talking about? I'm like, I don't even, bro. No, I'm not even lying, bro. That shit was brutal. And I was not hydrated. I was not ready for that. And I called my wife. I was like, I don't even think I can drive home right now. Like,
what?
I'm sitting, bro. I'm not going to lie to you, bro.
This is bad PR.
Oh, it was bad, bro. That shit was brutal.
Yeah, so not every workout's like that.
But it was an awesome time, though.
Yeah.
It was an awesome time. I think it was. And then also just hearing the stories, because I know that the day that I was there was the year anniversary of one of the other guys that was there, who's like now running marathons and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And he lost like
Rob
a sick
Augusta.
amount of weight. And
Yeah, he's shout out to him. Kid, he came to us right before COVID happened. We had our first our in-house meeting, and then after that we had to shut down, so we had to go virtual. Man, I remember him speaking on the virtual how important he missed, like he wanted this, and he's looking any way to kind of connect and stuff. And man, he lost a shit ton of weight. Just he couldn't run a mile prior. And it's not saying it was us; it was just the people that he surrounded himself with. He met a lot of good people that helped him through his journey, and he's got an awesome story. Deployed multiple times, and he was an addict, and came through that. And then he's awesome, and the running's been his thing, and now he's running 100Ks, 50Ks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, from not running a mile.
Yeah.
2020
well, and then when he said that he had lost all that weight, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
And then I remember I looked at you showed me, or he showed me his Instagram, and I was like, bro, what?
Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he's still to this day. He's still kicking it, man. He's every day he's posting it, running 5-7 miles. I'm like, fuck, like you're motivating the fuck out of me now, because there's times I need that motivation. Like we all need motivation, but his consistency is what I love the most about him. And
and then your
humble
buddy Dan, he's every day on Instagram. I see him just ripping shit, like
he's not
sandbags and doing every day. I see it.
Leaving his mark on the.
How do you know Dan?
So Dan and I worked together in the sheriff's department. When I came back from the narcotics unit, I said I was going to work this night shift, and there's only 2 spots, and they're like, "Yeah, you're going to be working this kid down." I'm like, when I left for 2 years, we hired a lot of people. I'm like, all right, who the fuck's this Dow guy? I'm like, oh, you'll like him, you'll connect. And we worked together, dude. Fucking aces. We kicked it off, and he's an awesome dude. Like, he's a good fucking dude. Dan is like my right hand man. I don't even say mine. Like, we're together on the whole Recalibrate thing. There's other players like Ruben, but Dan is our social media. Like, him and I share the social media. So if there's anything you write or post, you're talking to Dan or I. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's a fucking beast, dude. I'll even text him like, yeah, you dude, I'll screenshot your workouts. I'm like, I said I'm gonna do them, and then I just don't fucking do them.
Yeah.
Or I didn't even look. I'll skip past his story sometimes because I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna.
Bro, that one time I was following you, and you did the row machine workout.
Yeah.
I did that, and I did that because I had to weigh in the next day, and I was like, fuck it. I was like, this probably sounds like a really good idea for me to destroy myself. So I did that. I think it was 500 meters. And then a 2-minute rest, and then it was 500 meters and then a 2-minute rest for 10 rounds. Yeah, and I was like, I was like, no, not happening. And then I did it though, and I felt like shit. And I'm like, yeah.
The rower is the best thing. I love the rower. I have a rower. I slacked off it, but I am back, slowly getting back on the rower.
Yeah, I enjoy doing shit like that. I just don't like doing it alone. No. And I'm also really bad at. I have no. What's that thing called? That word.
Motivation?
No.
Dedication.
Nope. Balance.
Balance?
So like when it comes to like doing like freaking
Yeah.
power cleans and like I cannot figure out for the life of me how to do a power clean.
So, you gotta come to yoga.
I'm down.
Getting your balance out.
I'm down.
So we have our monthly yogas. One's coming up on the 14th
Okay.
of this month. So, November.
Okay. Oh, I have work that day.
Oh, you have work that day? You
Here
already
I
know
am
that?
getting out of it. Yeah, no, I do. I have to work one Saturday a month. But so one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was you had a buddy, Rory, that was a part of Recalibrate. He was like in the workouts and stuff, and then he
One of our
passed
board
away.
members. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So can you just kind of like and we talked about this beforehand. I want these episodes to also be remembering people.
I got you.
And talking about the memories that you have with them because their families no longer are there. They don't have those memories. They weren't there to make those memories with them at that time. So sometimes there's things that maybe they never knew.
Yeah.
That we haven't shared with them or anything like that. And also by doing this, we're never going to lose them, and they'll be within. And then people that are listening are going to hear about Rory, and they'll be able to hear about his story. So can you just kind of tell us a little bit about him and?
Mm-hmm. So I was introduced to Rory a couple years ago. Came to one of our peer groups. He's an amputee, or he was an amputee, and Ruben, our other board member, he's an amputee as well. So we're bullshitting, just like before the meeting, the peer group. Here comes this ginger walking in with one leg, and just all happy and whatever. I'm like, Ruben's actually changing his sock on his legs, where his calls his nub, changing his sock, and Rory takes up his leg and just keeps walking. Like, look at this motherfucker! Like that's Ruben goes, like who the fuck took my leg? And then looks at him and goes, oh, that's how we're gonna kick this one off. And like, we just started laughing. And like that's how Rory kind of like this became like one of us right away. Yeah. He was introduced by another mutual friend of mine that I work with actually now, Marine. And ever since then, Rory just always, we used to joke that he was Insta famous, like because he had a big following with him. But what separated Rory from anybody was he was the most humble person that I ever like. One of the guys that I needed to connect with, especially at the timing wise. Like he was someone that was always, hey bud, what's going on, dude? What's going on? Checking in on you, and it was just like, wow, man, this guy gives a fuck. Like, and you could talk with him, you could bullshit with him, you can go have a drink with him, you can just. He always just wanted to be involved. He wanted to see if he could help other people, and that was his biggest thing, was to help everybody. And he left a mark on everybody when he killed himself. So he became a board member of ours. So had a role of talking with people, and I know he talked with the recruits at one time in Toms River. He was just always out there doing stuff with the community, no matter what he did.
And that's why I brought him up, because I never met him, but like I know people who knew him. Like I know Instagram, like friends of mine who are Marines that are on Instagram and knew him, and people who were like when you shared his post about when he had passed away, all these other people were like sharing it, and I was like, bro, I know all of these people that know him. Like like my buddy Carr knows him. Yeah, man. So one of the questions that I don't know if you mind me asking this is, and I had this conversation with somebody because I've never known anybody who's committed suicide or who's done that. And me and my buddy were talking about this over the weekend. He was like, we were just talking about suicide and telltale signs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And his take on it was that you'll always know and the signs were there. Yeah. And then my take was like, well, I feel like there's people who like you would never have known, because like people say that all the time. Oh no, I never thought that would be him. Yeah. And I'm like, or people will say like, oh no, he wasn't that type of person. And then I'm like, well, I don't think there's a type of person. You know what I mean? So like my question is like, do you think that now looking back, like were there telltale signs, or do you think that there wasn't? Like, do you think that there is always telltale signs? Do you think there isn't? So,
in Rory's case, we didn't want to beat ourselves up about it, but obviously we a lot of us that were close with Rory, and a good friend of, I became good friends with somebody since Rory passed, and we talked a lot and kind of connected a lot of dots. But, Yeah, there were telltale signs. Rory was always a dark guy. He loved dark poetry. He wrote stuff himself. He posted stuff. But that was just Rory. So this is during COVID. Rory's outlet was going out, speaking in front of groups, and telling his story, from getting his leg blown off to the time he first time almost tried to kill himself and didn't. And that's when he changed his mindset. He didn't have that opportunity to go out and talk with people. That was his outlet. That's what made him feel great, besides working out, and the gym was closed.
Yeah.
So I guess drinking at home was not the thing for him, and he got into his own head, and he just did a dumb thing. I don't think it was something. I talked to one of his buddies, and not getting into too much, but I think it was just something. I don't think it was something planned. But then also on the other hand, Roy was always like that mysterious guy that, and there's certain dates. It's just weird. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But Rory didn't have his outlet ultimately.
Yeah.
And
And
drinking and his mental health with drinking. And I say that to everyone that has some kind of issue, dude, stop the fucking drinking. If you have an issue, I knock on wood, I don't have those. I can still enjoy alcohol, but I do surround myself with guys that have it. So I don't post about it, or I don't do stuff because of who I'm with, my company. Sometimes it's all right.
Yeah.
But I can have beers, I can have a bourbons and stuff like that, and be okay. But there's guys that really need to stay the fuck away from it, and they need people to tell them that.
Yeah.
So with Rory, he had all the help in the world. He had all the tools. He had all the outlets available to him to reach out. He was one of the mentors for the program too. So he was one of us, and we just were all man, I didn't see it coming until we later. And you don't want that ever to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's telltale signs and stuff like that, but for majority of people, I teach mental health first aid. I teach resiliency in our county for police, which is getting guys resilient to hopefully take the better healthy outlets and show them, and also teach crisis intervention training. So it's all this stuff. I'm getting myself involved in the last couple of years to hopefully avoid that Rory moment, and unfortunately I missed it myself.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up for the first couple of days, but then I'm like, man, I just only he had everything available to him. You can only do so much.
Yeah.
Man, it's unfortunate. So
what would you say to anybody that's going through that right now, anyone that's thinking of that, or if you know someone who's going through that and you're the person that can say something or be a kind word, what kind of advice would you give?
Just get the help. Go to a professional if it's to the point where you're thinking of those suicidal ideation. If you're thinking, hey man, I'm ending it, go talk to somebody. Hopefully you can address that way prior. If you're feeling yourself disconnected, if you're feeling yourself not being the best you, still talk to somebody. I would always seek counseling. I would tell somebody, hey, it's okay to talk to somebody. We have to drop that shield that we're this alpha person and stuff like that, and in order for us to be continue who we are and who serving others and being that person, we need to seek help for ourselves. We need to actually take a pause and go, hey dude, I need help. And it's okay to feel that way because you're normal. Everybody feels that way. I don't care who you are. There's guys that won't admit it. I'm not saying suicidal, but depressed and anxious, all this other stuff that can down the road, if it's not addressed, can lead to serious problems. And I think guys, if they treat it earlier, or if they're not feeling connected, it could be a serious situation where a Rory or someone else. I'm not a 22 person. I hate that number. I don't believe in it because I don't like the push-ups. I get it. There's a reason for awareness and stuff like that, and there's a purpose, and there's great groups that do great things. But me personally, I will not ever do that because I feel like I'm giving into the whole. Oh, all right. Well, he's another suicide. We're just he's another. He's another 22. That's a number. No, dude. That's a fucking person. That's a husband, a dad. That's they're just putting on a number on it. I get the number fluctuates and stuff like that. It's not this real thing, but putting a number on a death. That where I don't know if it's honoring or not, but I don't think we have to send a different message. He's a great guy that I've started becoming a mentor. Became like a mentor to me. Probably doesn't know it, but I look at I follow him, and I've been to his ranch. I've done his. I did a cool workout. It was like a 24-hour mental and physical journey thing that he does. I'm not gonna get into that too much, but Brian Tosh, he was a silver. I'm sorry, Navy Cross recipient. Wow, it's a long night. The things that he says, and I really do take every word that he says, and he wants to change the narrative, and it's not fucking honoring. You have a suicide. He's like, I'm not going to go to your funeral. I'm not going to cheers for you. I'm not going to, because what's that doing? Basically what he's saying is the last thoughts in your mind, oh, my family's gonna be taken care of. My boys are gonna honor me. I'm always gonna be remembered as this. No, dude, if you're gonna fucking take that way out, then there's guys that are still breathing to this day because they didn't take that fucking way, and they manned up to their families, to their kids, and stuff like that. So, man, I do struggle with that boat going back and forth. Hey, there is a reason, but there's also we have to if we're continuing this message and guys are still doing this. Yeah. Well, maybe he is right. Maybe he is we have to go, no, motherfucker. And you have to be more blunt. We're all in the military. We're not this soft victimhood. Oh, poor me. I have this stress. I have this anxiety. Yeah. Well, we need to be hey, dude, get the fucking help.
Yeah, that was when I was on recruiting duty. We had a Marine commit suicide, hung himself in the office. Oh. The night, they had, I think if I'm correct, they had all gone out drinking, they had a good night, and they were celebrating, and then he left and went back to the office by himself and just hung himself. Wife and kids, and the recruiter that found him walked in the office, opened the door, and there he was, just hanging. Jeez. And it was a weird thing that had happened, because we were all told, hey, every single buddy gets to the office right now. We're all getting on a conference call throughout the state. The commanding officer has to, and that never happens. Mm-hmm. It doesn't ever happen where the whole entire state's on a conference call at this day at 9 a.m. in the morning. So we get the conference call, and we're all just sitting there jaws dropped, and because of how recruiting duty is, you hear the name and you're okay, I've heard of him, but I can't put the face, because you're the 5 Marines in this office, and that's it. You guys see each other once in a while, and we're all wait, who was that? And we're all thinking it was this other guy, and it wasn't. And then, but what the weird thing was we get off this conference call, and it's just back to work as normal. Back to, hey, where's your appointments and all this stuff, and then there was no talk of a service. Mm-hmm. There was no talk of what was going to go on. And then I remember a couple of weeks later, we were in the staff at COIC huddle, and we were doing our training. We were sitting at the table, and one of the gunnery sergeants was sir, and he was talking to the sergeant major and to the CO at the time, and he was what are we doing? Yeah. He was is anybody going to talk about what just happened? Because all of our Marines want to know, what are we doing? And are we having a service from this Marine? Are we doing anything? And I remember the sergeant major, and he was listen, I'm going to be honest, man. He was we're having a hard time on what we should do. Yeah. He was because if we go and we have a memorial service, well then that's in his thought process, my mindset was, this is why more and more people commit suicide, is because no one's been paying attention to me, no one's been looking at me, no one's been caring about me, but look at what happened to him. He committed suicide, and then all these people came to his, to his wake, people, and people talked about him, and so that was at that time. Again, I'm not speaking for them, but that was part of the conversation that was going on. Was, well, how are we going to go about this? Because now we don't want other Marines in the command, or any Marine, to think that we're glorifying this and to say that this is normal and this should happen, and then it led to, they ended up doing, we at a VFW, they had the wife come up and they gave her flowers, and we did I think they just did the funeral, if I'm correct. And, but but I remember that had ended up bringing up the sergeant major, and the sergeant major ended up telling his story, because he had been through like 4 or 5 combat deployments. He's an infantry sergeant major.
Mm-hmm.
He dealt with alcoholism, dealt with depression, dealt with anxiety, dealt with suicide. There were thoughts of suicide, dealt with divorce and being separated from his daughter. And he ended up talking about it because of that. He was like, listen, man, he's like, we've all gone through this stuff, and maybe not in the exact same capacity, but we need to talk about it. And him as a sergeant major, he was like, listen, I'm no better than any of you.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you need to speak out about it and say something about it, say it. Because he's like, I can tell you that I've gone to counseling and I'm about to retire as a sergeant major. And I've been through all of those things. So it's not the same Marine Corps it used to be where you couldn't. And that's why it's such a difficult conversation, because, like, you don't know how to... I don't want to say you don't know when to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who will cry wolf because, you know, like in boot camp now.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends of mine who are drill instructors that are like, dude, you know how many times we have people who say, oh, I'm going to commit suicide? And just because they know that that's how they get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and it's such a... You know, and that's the thing. It's like, you don't want to glorify it. You don't want to, you know, glorify it. But my thing, when it comes to why I wanted to bring him up and why I wanted to talk about him, was because at the end of the day, no matter what he did or no matter what any of them do, they left, most of them either left behind children and a wife and a spouse, or family in any capacity. And that family still deserves to know stories about them. Because that person's no longer there. So if you can share a story about, you know, quote-unquote Marine while you were in boot camp together, or while, like, you know, and that's the thing too, is like, yes, they didn't die overseas or anything like that, but they still were dealing with battles that...
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what, I like you said it, and that's one thing.
It's such a hard...
Rory's family is like awesome. Like, in my heart, like, we do a Remembrance WOD now. We started because of him, and it's to bring the family in and show that people do care. And it's the Rory WOD for Rory, but it's for mental health on suicide awareness. I've already told everyone I'm not doing another fucking hero WOD for someone that committed suicide. Rory had a special place, and what he left in this world, what he advocated for, he suffered, and every day was a struggle for him. That's why the WOD is meant to suffer. Like, I really want people to suffer doing it, especially when it's done right. But he left a special place in a lot of people, and his kids and his wife, like his family, just needs to know, like, hey, we've got you. Like, we'll help you out. We'll be there for you, support you. Come out and show and watch everyone that is doing this workout because of your dad and stuff. And I want the kids to know that your dad was an awesome person and did so much for so many people and affected so many lives. So that, to that point, it's like, that's where I'm conflicted too, man. Like, I say that I'm done doing that, but I do feel for the families. Like, they don't need to go through this. Like, any kid, I look at my daughter, I'm like, there's no fucking way. I never had, I'll be honest, I never had any of those thoughts, but I've been depressed. I've anxious. But I'm like, now I have a daughter, she's about to be 6 months, and I'm like, dude, there's no fucking way. Like, I just look at her, like, every day, I just, like, hold her, and, like that's the shit, like, we just need to be grateful. There's things that, like, we need to kind of train ourselves, which I do with the police, and we do it with Recalibrate, but at a smaller scale. But there's other businesses, or there's other nonprofits that do stuff that we bring in and network with, that talk about just mindfulness and being resilient, and also, like, being grateful about just stuff that we have and what we've been through, and appreciates the stuff, because I think that's, like, the most important thing, is just, like, man, like, I don't know, if we appreciate and be grateful for what we have, and we can breathe, and
it's the positivity, you know. Like, I was listening to this guy, I listened to him a couple of times, and then all of a sudden, like, I'll have really bad days, and then, like, somehow he'll just, like, end there on my YouTube, and it's like, wait, why are you right there? And I actually started Instagramming him, talking back and forth with him. He's gonna come on in January in 2022. It's Dr. Billy Allsbrooks.
Okay.
And, dude, if you are ever, even if you're not in like the moment of where like you just feel like crap and you don't want to do anything,
Yeah.
bro, if you're ever in the mood for like a really good motivational speech, bro, you can put this guy on for hours all day long, and just the way that, and then what people did is on YouTube, people have mixed his videos with Jocko and his videos with Goggins.
Okay.
So like, and it's not him. He's like, no, I did not do those renditions. Like, people have just done it. And then he did an episode with Marcus Luttrell.
Okay.
And it was like a 2-hour podcast. But dude, I was watching it yesterday, and he talks about how he ended up doing this, and how his life just completely changed. And how there was a moment where he used to be a gangster rapper. He's from Texas and lived in Florida for a while, but he was a gangster rapper, and he was singing about all of the things that they do, drugs, alcohol, and all this stuff. And he was glorifying it, but he wouldn't do them because his father was an alcoholic. So he was like, I wouldn't do it, but I would rap about it, and I would make all the money. And then eventually he ended up, he tells the story, and it's an amazing story. And he ended up, he asked God, like, he was like, what is my purpose? His dad had just died, and he was trying to figure out, like, what do I do with my life? And he said, I asked God, and then as I was walking through my house, he had a boom mic, and he walked past it and hit his head on it. And then he kept walking, and then he was, like, praying. He was like, God, what do I do with my life? What do I do with my life? He turned around, hit his head again. And he's like, that continued to happen. And he's like, 4 years later, he's like, I thought back to that. So it took him I might be wrong, but it was like 2 or 3 years later. He's like, wait a minute, I remember that one day I hit the boom mic. And now he's a motivational speaker. He's a doctor. He's an author. And like, what he said was he ended up changing what he would do every day. So he would start his day with positivity, and he would just, whether it was telling himself, he would be like, you're a champion. Mm-hmm. And then he would just slowly start this thing, and the first thing he ever recorded was him into a microphone saying, you're a champion. And then it just went off. And that was the thing too. I was talking to this guy, Chad Robichaux, recently, who he dealt with suicide. And he was telling his story about how he sat in his closet for 2 weeks, every day, not 2 weeks straight, but for 2 weeks, every day he would sit in his closet with pictures of his family around him, and he would hold his gun in his mouth, and every time he would be about to do it, the thought of his son finding him would come into his head. And because his son was the only person who had a key to his apartment, so he would worry that like his son would be the one to find him, and then his son would have to deal with that for the rest of forever, and all that, and or days later find him rotting body, and then he was like, what ended up happening to me was I just realized that like I've tried everything else and it doesn't work. Maybe I need to try something else, and for him it was God. And he ended up becoming really religious, and now he opened up 2 different things. He opened up Mighty Oaks Foundation, which is
Mighty Oaks.
Yeah, dude, he's the owner and of that. And then he just started Save Our Allies, and they're the people that saved 30,000 Afghanis, refugees. Shit. Yeah, so it's him, Tim Kennedy, and a few other people, I think. But I did an episode with him. That was an awesome episode, just listening to his story, because he was a Force Recon Marine, so he talks about his 8 deployments. Mm-hmm. Didn't really get too much into it because he was busy, but just hearing his story and just to know that, like, he's someone that, and that's the thing, if you're listening right now and you're someone who's dealt with suicide or thought about suicide, like, his biggest thing is, bro, I started an organization. It's been about, I think he said they started in 2010, so it's been about 11 years since he started Mighty Oaks. And they've been able to he's been able to speak to over 250,000 service members. He's been able to speak to the people who come to his organization, where they do it's a week-long retreat. And he's like, if I was dead, this would have never happened. Like, if I had taken my life that day, these things would have never happened. We wouldn't have saved these refugees. We wouldn't have, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. And that's the thing, man. And he was talking about that. He was like, bro, whatever you're going through, it's going to end. Mm-hmm. Like, today is going to end. This is going to end, but don't be the one to end it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is just pushing through. And to kind of just cap this whole thing off, I think, and a friend of mine posted this on her Instagram. It's effed up. She has a podcast, and it was like one of those things, like that, like the white poster, like what's something we preach but we don't do.
Yeah.
And she put accountability, and it's so true, because everybody talks about accountability, but nobody's doing it. No one's actually making it. Like, people are like, oh, hey, I'll hit you up, and then it's like nobody hits you up.
Yeah.
And it's like, or why is someone always the one that hits you up? And it's like, bro, there's people who out there who are going through shit, and just a quick text message of, hey, how are you? Hey, let's get a drink. Or if they shouldn't drink, hey, let's go get to dinner. Let's go get a freaking pie, a piece of pie, like whatever it is. Let's go play baseball, softball, darts, whatever it is.
Come to Recalibrate, yeah.
And yeah. So what's next for you guys? Do you have any upcoming, I know you said November 14th. Do you have any up and coming things? Where can we find you?
Yeah.
Social media, website, where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, so before I get into that, I just wanted our one little tagline is find your fire team, right?
Oh, okay.
So finding your fire team in the military is just a small unit of guys that each of them have their own separate mission or separate job, and so they all can complete the mission, and each job is vital. So the importance of finding your fire team in your civilian life is to carry you combat life, right? Life sucks. Life is a fucking bitch sometimes. So we have to fight it and combat it certain ways and certain elements we need in order to pull through those dark times. Or even just when you're doing well and you just need someone to really push you even more, to go further and do stuff. So a fire team is really important in life. It's basically just 4 or 5 people that you can close with your eyes and go, hey, I can pick up the phone and call this person right now. That's your fire team. You don't have to say they're my fire team. They're not. They could be your wife.
Yeah.
They could be your best. They don't even have to be in the military, which I'm starting through the years. Like, guys are like, I don't have any military friends. I'm like, it doesn't have to be. So explaining it, it could be your spouse. It could be your daughter, your son. It could be those people. Like, they're important to you. So count on them. Lean on them. Talk with them. But have those people. If you don't have a fire team, come out to Recalibrate, come out to any organization, and go seek these people that you're looking for. You're looking for better physical fitness. Seek those people out and go towards them, right? Like, that's the things that, it sounds simple, but like, we don't do that. Like, I want to eat better. Go find a nutritionist. Well, we can help you with that. But like, there's organizations, there's things out there that can do it. So I want to be better in faith. If that's what hey, go to a church, go find a group or something.
Yeah.
That caters towards that. That's just one aspect of a whole thing. Like, it's the mental health, it's the physical fitness, it's the faith-based or spiritual, I would say, because that's just as important.
Yeah.
But find those people. So that's into that. But a lot of people say they don't have a fire team, but that's seeking it. So finding your fire team. That's what we say. Like, we got you the T-shirt and the band, and that's a good message to have. But we're on Instagram at Recalibrate USA. Recalibrate USA. And then our website is recalibrateusa.org. We're on Facebook, Recalibrate. Recalibrate's our name, but Recalibrate USA we had to use it for the tags and kind of separate us from like some other stuff. But Recalibrate USA, find us, message us. You're gonna talk to Dan or I. But you don't know who you're talking to, which is good for both. Like, it's good because sometimes people are afraid to come out, but they want to find out stuff, or which we do cater a lot of questions of, I got this problem going on, what can I do? Or I have this veteran, or it could be a family member that reaches out to us about someone, which is cool, and we'll help them the best that we can in our area.
Yeah.
If not, we try to give them, hey, this has gone too far, you might need to go see. But so we're always following questions and talking with people. But we'll post our workouts. Our peer group in person is the 3rd Wednesday of each month. We did it on purpose because, especially being a Marine, like, keep it simple. 3rd Wednesday of every month we have our peer group, and our 3rd Sunday of every month we have our workouts. And they are different. They're not going to be as bad as the one you came to. I think we just decided to destroy you that time. We gauge on who comes.
Bro,
and
that
stuff.
was ridiculous.
But it's not that. The purpose is not to destroy you. It's not to destroy anyone. It's to bring them back Because there's guys
that's the
that want
worst
to get
thing.
into. There's guys that want to get into physical fitness, but they're CrossFit
Slowly,
or something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no, dude, this is a segue, and we will.
Yeah.
We'll gauge it.
Well, that
so-
was the thing with that workout was everyone was like, "Hey man, just go at your own pace," and I'm like, "Okay, but you guys are going fast as hell." So I was like, "I gotta just keep up with you guys."
Yeah, that's-
and then you guys are just looking at me like, "All right, we're waiting on you. We can't go to." The
I don't think
next
we were
one."
looking at you like that. I was just
No,
waiting
you
for you
were.
to
No, you
sweat.
were.
Yeah, I
No,
think
you
it was a little
were.
bit of haze
You
fest.
guys
I
were
enjoyed
like-
it with working with you, but it's not like that. It's not a haze fest.
No, yeah,
it's not
it
supposed to
wasn't.
be
It wasn't
like that. It's
but,
just
but my mentality was like, I have to put out because I'm here.
and we're not. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not. We're just the basis.
Yeah.
But to open your eyes, anybody through, if you're law enforcement, first responders or military, hey, I like yoga. We'll explore yoga. We have a free yoga class. I was talking with someone earlier today. She wants to get us to do a meditation stuff and explore that. I think guys want to. I try to just drop your ego and just do it. Try it once.
Yeah.
Those are the things that, like, hey, if you want to dive into it, you want to dive into journaling, like, we can gear you towards that stuff. But it's just coming out and trying it. Surfing, guys have never surfed before. We got them surfing last year. I don't know about this year, just with COVID, just with a lot of stuff going on, moving parts. But there's a rucking, the stuff like that to get guys out that want to try it. There's other groups that do a better job. We're just here for you guys to try, for veterans, for you guys, for us to try it out for the first time and see if you like it. If you want to stay around and keep coming. If not, then hey, you've experienced something that you like, and then you've gone and taken it. And that's the whole purpose. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything that how you're gonna gauge whatever, but as long as we keep doing what we're doing consistently, I think that's the main goal. Hopefully, have a mindfulness retreat next year, 2022. That's my goal, personal goal. And have about 8 veterans come out and have a big impact on their lives. So that's what we're shooting for.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming out. I
Thank you.
appreciate you making the time.
I appreciate it.
and I look forward to our next endeavor,
Yes.
whatever it may be. And just thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.